Today I want to talk to you about a thing called residual self-image. I lifted it straight out of the movie The Matrix. So I'm walking to my car after an early morning workout at the YMCA. I'm almost to my car. I'm getting ready to get in, and this older couple is getting out of their car, and our YMCA shares a parking lot with a doctor's office. And so they are getting ready to go to the doctor, but the woman gets out of the car and just starts going off on me. She's yelling, "You know, you're not supposed to park here. What's wrong with you? This is parking for the doctor's office," which it is parking for the doctor's office. It says it on these templates painted on the slots. But there's also a sign that says as long as you're gone from that parking spot by 7 a.m., then it's fine to park there. So I turn around and I start walking towards this couple because I want to explain this to them. I feel the need to vindicate myself and make sure that they understand that I'm not, just a terrible parking offender. And as I get within a few paces of them, the man holds both hands out to me quickly and he says, "Hey buddy, I'm an ex-cop." I have no idea what that means. I scratch my head. Okay. And I explain to him, I point him to the sign, and I say, "Look at the sign and what it says. It says I can park here, and your wife's wrong, so could you please get her to quit yelling at me?" I go back and get in my car. I'm driving off. He's looking at the sign, explaining to his wife what the real deal is. His wife doesn't look very impressed. I think maybe she was just one of those people. She was not going to be happy no matter what, but the point was I drove away from there scratching my head going, why is this guy scared of me? Because he was. I mean, I could see it in his face. He throwing his hands up. He was scared of me, and I didn't like that, and I didn't understand it. And as I got home that day and I was getting ready to take a shower, I look at myself in the mirror and I go, "Oh, I see. I understand what was going on here." Because you see, in my mind, I have this residual self-image of a kid that's 139 pounds, 17 years old, and 6 feet tall as a beanpole that couldn't intimidate Pee Wee Herman. And I look in the mirror, and what I see is a 50-year-old guy with a gray, scratchy goatee and kind of a broad guy and about 200 pounds. I mean, I'm not a string bean. And if a guy that looked like me came walking at me in a dark parking lot in the morning and I thought he was mad and he had a stern look on his face, I might be a little intimidated too. And it made me realize that this thing called residual self-image that I had heard about in The Matrix was actually something that we all have. We all have this idea about what we look like. More than that, we have ideas about who we are. They come from a lot of different places. I mean, if your parents were people who told you were beautiful and smart your whole life, well, maybe you grew up thinking that that's who you are, and your residual self-image is, "I'm the smart person. I'm the pretty person. I'm the athletic guy," if they told you that. Or you could, those are some good ones. It could also be a residual self-image that came from things like being abandoned by a parent, or being left behind through divorce or death of a parent that made you think, I'm unworthy, or I am a person who has been abandoned. I'm lost. I'm rejected. So there are these residual self-images that build up. In the movie The Matrix, Neo is released from the Matrix, and he has these scars in these tubes, connections in his hands and the back of his head that show him that he was connected to the Matrix. But then when he plugs back in to the Matrix, they all go away, and he has this appearance that's completely changed. His hair is different, the scars are gone, the connectors are gone. And Morpheus explains to him that is your residual self-image. It's your projection of who you are. And it's not the real you. It's a projection of who you are. It's who you think of yourself as. And in the case of in the parking lot, I saw that this projection of who I was, this thought about who I was, interrupted my ability to really relate to my environment, to that man and his wife. It was messing me up. I couldn't really connect with them the way I wanted to. I certainly didn't want to intimidate them. It wasn't my idea. So it's important that we come up with a real projection of who we are, not just this residual. Now see what Paul says in the book of Colossians, and this is great stuff. In chapter 3, verse 1, he says, "Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things, for you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory." That word glory is a very significant word. What it means is this: it's substance. It's really who you are. It's something that can't be blown away. It's something that doesn't fade with time. It doesn't fade with age. You can be the athletic guy, but with age, the glory of that fades. This is more of a permanent glory. This is a permanent glory. It is an actual substantive identity. And he says, set your mind on Christ. So, and that as Christ appears, you will receive glorious substance. Now what that's saying is, the more you see Jesus, the more we see Jesus and who he is and what he's done for us, what he's sacrificed for us, how he's called us to himself, what he's given up so that you and I could know God through him, that we'll start to see who we are, and we'll have an accurate self-image, not one that is just this residual self-image that we got by growing up in the matrix, this false world. And that's very important. If you want to relate rightly to your spouse, if you want to relate rightly to your children, to your neighbors, to your co-workers, it's very significant for us to have a true self-image, not this residual one that is driven by the things that have happened to us in the world, but to an image that comes from our Creator. It actually says down in verse 10 of Colossians chapter 3, to put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge and the image of its Creator. As we do that, we are being renewed. We are being made new. We are not fading in our glory, actually. What's happening is we are increasing in glory. The longer that we are being renewed, the more we are renewed, we become more and more true to who we really are, true to who we are really made to be, and able to relate to those around us in a way that honors them and honors Christ and is healthy for those who are around us. So, living like the gospel is true, and the matter of self-image means getting our eyes on Jesus and who he said we are, and not letting the matrix continue to define us, or other people in the matrix define us and tell us who we are, and not living according to that residual self-image.